Welcome to Modern Steel Construction's Field Notes podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Weisenberger. This month's guest is Corey Valleroy, who is a junior at the University of Missouri-Columbia and captain of the school's steel bridge team. Welcome, Corey.
Good to be here.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate you taking the time. Let's start off just kind of basic. Where are you from?
I'm from St. Peters, Missouri. It's about 20 minutes outside St. Louis.
What made you decide to go to the University of Missouri, also known as Mizzou?
So my brother went there. He was a chemical engineer. He talked really highly about the engineering program, and it pretty much was between that and S&T, which is the other big engineering school. The thing that ended up convincing me Mizzou was the place for me is I really like the environment down there. There just seemed to be a bit more to do, and I like to have a lifestyle outside of engineering.
Okay, very good. Well, so speaking of engineering, I understand that you are a dual major, physics and engineering, but unlike the vast majority of students that compete in the AISC Student Steel Bridge competition, you are not, in fact, a civil or structural engineering major. You're a mechanical engineering major. Is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent. So, well, I'll get into that in a little bit, but tell me first, what got you interested in that branch of engineering, and also what got you interested in physics, for that matter?
Again, kind of following my brother, he went chemical engineering. That I did not like that at all. So I kind of went my own path. I had an idea of what mechanical engineering was. I really liked aerospace engineering, but I felt that was too limited, especially with COVID here. I'm pretty glad for that because the airline industry kind of took a hit. Hopefully it rebounds though. So I went mechanical to get me more broad. I've really always enjoyed physics, and my brother also did a dual major in physics. And with that, he was actually able to become an electrical engineering when he joined the field instead of being a chemical. And those were the two main fields I was really interested in, was mechanical and electrical, that I was kind of deciding through. And rather than dual major in two engineering fields, that seemed really tough. I could be learning something different and perhaps follow in his footsteps and end up in an electrical engineering job.
Okay. Well, so again, typically most of the people that are involved in the steel bridge competition are are structural engineers rather.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not. What about the rest of the team? Are there a lot of other non-structural engineers on the team, or people from with completely different majors altogether?
We start the year actually with one chemistry major, which was something that the team has never seen before. He just got into it. He really liked it. He ended up having to take a step back later in the year. I think he went home to help out his family with COVID and stuff. I think they got hit a little hard. But we're mainly made up of electrical and mechanical engineers, but all from really different backgrounds. Our electrical engineer, the vice president, actually, he was a civil engineer for 2 years. So he kind of had a background, also went to trade school for a little bit. So even though we weren't made up of civil engineers, we all kind of took those strength and materials classes and the aesthetics classes, which gave us the basis, and we were able to network with like professors and stuff and each other and kind of put it all together, even though we only, I think, had one official civil engineer on the team this year.
Okay. And so were you yourself recruited?
So I was recruited when I joined as a freshman. Like I said, we have a barbecue. What it is all the clubs come out. It's called the freshman barbecue. And you have to go through and talk to like at least 10 clubs. And after that, you're allowed to get food. And the food's pretty good. So I went for that. And I ended up talking to this club in Concrete Canoe. And I ended up joining both of them. I kind of gelled a bit more with the steel bridge team. So I continued to get more involved with that.
So, speaking of, it sounds like it's a pretty diverse team in terms of focuses and majors at the university, but it also sounds like you've been pushing to make it a more diverse team, or add more diversity to the team in a broader sense. Can you talk a little bit about that and what prompted it?
Yeah, I think diversity comes in many facets, and it all really helps out. So going into this year, like I said, we had a chemistry major on the team. We had a bunch of people, and we all came from similar backgrounds. Actually, a lot came from my high school. I was okay with that. I wasn't like looking to get rid of anyone, but I am always looking to meet new people and stuff. And I knew recruiting is a great way, because what the Steel Bridge team is for me, and is a group of friends and stuff. So it's a real social environment. So I always want to build in, like, reach out to more people. And with COVID this year, we ended up having almost all online classes at Mizzou. So to save money, we lost almost our entire officer team. Ended up our vice president stayed and our treasurer, but he even had to go home the second half of the year. So it was just really tough that it was pretty much me and the vice president. We said we knew we were going to need to recruit as much as possible, and we didn't care if you were a freshman, if you were a chemistry major. We just knew we needed people in there to give us ideas because we couldn't do it ourselves. And I think that was really inviting to tons of different groups. We ended up becoming over 50% women, and it just, we started talking to them, and they brought their friends around, and it really built a great thing.
I like the idea of, having that checklist of 10, you have to talk to 10
Yep.
different groups before you get fed. I like that. That's good incentive. So can you talk a little bit about your recruitment efforts to get the team built back up?
So sadly, with COVID this year, we didn't get a freshman barbecue, and I found out over the summer that was going to be a problem, because that is normally the main thing. So I immediately reached out to the civil engineering department. I built a really good relationship with them this year, and they really helped out. Just any event, there was tons of online freshman training, trying to give the freshmen somewhat of a normal year. And I knew it was going to be really tough. And I had talked to some incoming freshmen, and I was a bit nervous that they were going to end up getting stuck in the dorm. With all their classes online, that's a really small space to be stuck in with another person for a full year, and could be pretty tense. So I knew they were going to be looking for a place to get out. So I really tried marketing the team as a place to get out. We put up invites on there's a website that Mizzou does, and just trying to show, hey, this is an outdoor event. We're taking COVID seriously, but get you out of the dorm for a little bit, get you to talk to other people in your majors that you're not getting those experiences in the classroom right now. So really just anything I could find. I had emails over the summer. It was like, hey, there's 15 people coming to this event. You want to come talk to them? And every time me or the vice president, we would send one of us and just be like, hey, just come check this out. Tell your friends about it. And we end up getting a good group from that.
So what new ideas did your team generate this year that it may not have generated or considered in previous years?
So the biggest thing is we had a lot of non-traditional STEM students. We have a member from Africa. We have a lot of women on the team, and they brought completely different ideas. Me and the vice president, like I said, he was in trade school before he ended up coming to college. I grew up working with tools. My dad taught me, and not everyone on the team had that, and that's perfectly okay. We liked that, but it really taught us to value different things. So one of the big things with the competition is you're not allowed to drop bolts and stuff. And for me and the vice president, this had never really been a concern. We pretty good at handling the tools and stuff, and we felt that comfortable that we were going to be able to only drop a few during the competitions like it happens. But some of the newer members who weren't as familiar working with the tools, they really like to practice with it, and they ended up coming up with new ideas that, hey, let's use all the same size bolts. Mm-hmm. And that saved us a lot of time from digging around in our bags and made us drop less. And they just brought different stuff like that. During the national competition, our bridge actually ended up being damaged during the regional, something we hadn't realized. It caused a major problem in the middle of building. We ended up getting a pretty disappointing time, but we were able to finish because some of those new members, quick thinking, we used one of the drills we brought out as like a lever to force one piece right in to just get the bolt started. And as soon as we did that, we were able to pull the drill out and drill the bolt in. And it took about 5 minutes of us all standing around it going, what are we going to do? It looks like our run's over. And luckily, someone came up with the idea to save the day. And me and the vice president, we would have never thought of that. We were doing everything we had traditionally done to try to put it back together. And they were able to see some of the tools as different, and that's just coming from different backgrounds, and really was the strength of the team this year.
So moving forward, What can you be doing, do you think, to just keep that culture of inclusion and team engagement alive, next year and beyond?
Yeah, the biggest thing for that, and the biggest thing I've been planning on, is we had elections and just moving that diversity into the office. There's like I said, we had a little bit diversity in officership, but we mainly just didn't have officers this year. And I really think the officers we have really set the tone for every meeting and stuff. If we show up excited, ready to go, ready to teach people what they don't know, trying to help them expand on new members, expand on their ideas, then people come every week and they're excited for it. If we show up and like, oh, we got to put another hour of work, I got a test I should be studying. Like, if we show up in a really negative mindset, no one's going to want to be there. And I think that's really important. And I really tried to talk to the officers this year and make them understand that it's important to show up excited and make sure everyone gets their ideas heard, because it really does make a difference.
We were talking a little bit earlier about the obvious COVID and how that affected things. So could you say, or could you point to the most surprising thing maybe that you learned from the competition this year, especially when you consider COVID?
So I've actually never been to a competition that wasn't during COVID. This is my coming year will be a junior. What was that? I'm sorry.
I said, good point.
Yeah. So I'm not really sure would it be that much different than a year without COVID. I think the most surprising thing was how many times it looked like things were going wrong, and we were able to turn it around. Like I said, we lost all the members to different reasons. We just so many times it looked like it might not be our year, and I felt like a lot of people would have just accepted that. But I think it was surprising that how many people stepped up. Like everything that went wrong just created an opportunity for another person to step in and take a bigger role in the team. And I was really excited by that. And it was an awesome feeling to keep seeing people show up and put in all that extra work they did and take it so seriously.
As you were saying, this isn't what you would consider to be a traditional steel bridge team made up of a bunch of engineering students. So I have to ask, who designed the bridge?
So me and the vice president really took the heavy loading of making sure everything was structurally sound. We have both taken strength and materials classes and built relationships with some of the professors, and we're able to figure it out through books and programs and figure out a good idea of what we needed to do to make the bridge together. But I think people mistake how much of this competition is required for civil. I see the competition as a design of how things fit together the best, which is just problem solving. Like, how can we design a connection between two pieces? That's really the biggest thing, the biggest struggle every year is you want those connections to fit so smooth and super fast so you can just keep building and get that really good time. I know some teams like to focus on the weight. Some teams like to focus on making it look really nice. We want to focus on the connections and making it build really fast. And I would say this was probably the best bridge in the past 3 years. So I think we were really successful with that. And our first national visit in probably 5 years. So that was awesome.
That's great to hear. So, given that, did this competition or just the camaraderie or any of the experiences, have you heard from any of your teammates saying, oh, maybe I will become a structural or a civil engineering major after all?
I think they really did enjoy the civil aspects of it. I know some are at least interested in. They made sure to sign up for the more civil classes in their major, taking a look at it. But we've had a couple switch back and forth, like, oh, maybe I'll go civil, or maybe I'll just stay with Steel Bridge to get my civil taste,
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. So when it comes to Columbia in general, I've never actually been there. I've heard good things. What's your favorite thing about it?
I really like the food down there, and actually the campus is really pretty. I don't know if you know the columns. We have the engineering building is right outside the columns, and with COVID and stuff, we were able to get our meetings outside for most of the year, biting Missouri weather, which isn't always the best. We had the competition outside, and all that was really fun. It's just really great to be outside and working with the team, and really pretty down there.
What was the situation like, the school situation in general? Was it like partial remote learning for the past year?
I can only talk about my experiences. I know some people had more or less classes. Through the 2 semesters, I only had one class each semester that was in person.
Okay.
And those were about 15 people classes, and they're in huge lecture halls where we could really spread out.
Sure.
And even those, there was some days where those got canceled and we were online. So that was a little bit frustrating. Pretty much the only time I got out was when I went to Steel Bridge. That was really exciting to me, and I made sure we all took it seriously with mask and keeping spread out, and just a trust. We really built a community, and if anyone was going home to see their grandparents or something, someone who might be more seriously affected by the pandemic, we said, go ahead, don't come to this meeting, like take care of your family. And that's obviously a lot more important to us than competing.
Is it going to be all in-person learning this year? Is that the expectation starting in the fall?
So I actually just got an email today that they had actually removed the mask mandate for even vaccinated, and it looked like we were going all back. All the chairs are back in the classrooms. I visited it not that long ago, but got that email today that the masks are back, and hoping we don't go further than that.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what everybody's hoping for.
The plan was definitely to have it in person, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's a moving target, so to speak. Yep. Yeah, and just lastly, what do you do when you're not working on steel bridges?
I love cooking. My biggest thing is cooking. I just had celebrated my 21st birthday, and
Happy birthday.
I looked around to thank you. I looked around to my family, and they had all got me cooking pans and like a Dutch oven, and this is probably not the normal 21st birthday gifts that you would expect of, and we all laughed about it, but that's my favorite thing to do.
Oh, that's great to hear. Do you have a specialty? Do you have like a go-to? You're trying to impress somebody?
Yeah, I've been making pretty good pizzas. A place right near me sells pizza dough, like a fresh pizza dough for 1 minute. That's my secret. It's not my cooking. I know the places to go to grab it.
That's cool. Well, hey, I mean, you got plenty of time to figure out your own dough.